What's up, IG? What's up, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, all y'all fun groups and such. Let's see, we're gonna do a little bit of this cleaned up, and then we're gonna get the ball rolling. Today is Monday night, and you know Monday night means Floating Yoga Fundamentals Book Club. So we're finishing up. We're finishing up the last couple chapters of The Only Way Out Is In. Boom. And we're about to get the ball rolling. I'm gonna get a little sip of this. Let me know where you at. Send it all in the chat. Boom. There we go. All right. Peace and love, kings, queens, and gods. My name is Jarek, the Floating Yogi, and I would like to thank Yogi this way for the sponsorship. You know, redefining how we see health and wellness in the community, bringing the power of growth and evolution back to the individual's hands. I'd also like to thank Surreal Audio Solutions, DJ Thrill, No Commercials International for the support. Also like to thank Born to Fly, where fitness is fashion. There's so many people I'd like to thank, but we're going to get back to that. I wanted to give a breakdown of the schedule. Tonight is Monday. Monday night is the Floating Yoga Fundamentals Book Club. This is the last chapter of The Only Way Out Is In, like I was mentioning earlier. We're getting into the last bit of Tantra, the Shiva Shakti story, so we can get a better understanding of, like, you know, what this Tantra stuff is and how it correlates to our life. Outside of that, Tuesday, we take all of the 8 limbs of yoga, all those 8 different aspects, and we combine them in a flow called Ashtanga, the 8 limbs of yoga, led half primary. That's Tuesday nights at 6. It'd be great to have you there. We flow. Classes are by donation. Again, it's about growing together, creating a space where individuals are looking for that growth, where they're like, so you know, all the other people are in there for that certain mindset. It's not many places where that type of mindset is super prevalent, but this is one. So, welcome. Thursday is Midday Meditations. I got some fun stuff coming up for the meditations. And Saturday is another Float and Flow. That's at 10:30. That's another virtual, and there's 2 in-person spaces available. And then Sunday, there's the Elevated Sift and Flow here at UE Center. I feel like that's all the bookkeeping. That's all keeping people happy. So with that, let's jump straight into it. Last week we were talking about, we started the intro to Tantra. We finished up with the Wizard Yogi, and then we got into the intro to Tantra, talking about the merger of the sun and moon energies. We went a little bit into Ayurveda. We talked about the pyramids. We talked about past and present views of sexuality. We talked about brahmacharya, which it could be celibacy or sexual restraint. Just a quick recap, you know. We talked about having support for the feminine energy within inside us, giving ourselves discipline. We talked about giving ourselves freedom to balance out the masculine energy inside us, and that ability to just explore, to try new things and see how we fall in it, how we enjoy it. We talked about energy release for men, cultivating that potent sexual energy. Yo, if you did not check last week, I highly encourage you to go back and check it out. Throwing away your wealth. It is almost the end of November, so this is like No Nut November. This is falling into play with that. We talked about the pineal gland and magnetism. We talked about how the semen has magnetic properties to it, and we go deeper into that another time. All right, so here we are, Shiva Shakti story on page 236, and The Only Way Out Is In. Boom. The following. So if you heard about Shiva and you heard about Shakti and you don't necessarily know their story, this is the breakdown of their story, and it's kind of like the Adam and Eve of like Indian philosophy, Indian history type deal. And I like it because it sets a different perspective. It takes it off of like male female a little bit and really lets me see it in like energetic sense, and in the sense of like what are these energies, the principles and the properties of these energies, as opposed to who is what and what does that do. Now, what's the basic energy? Then we can figure out how we can play around with it, how we can mold it and manipulate it to make it what it is that we need. Okay, the Shiva Shakti story. The following is a story told down through the ages to show Shiva and Shakti communed, which led to the birth of Tantra to the world. Shiva and Shakti are depicted on the cover of this book, dancing the dance of creation in front of Mount Kailash. Thousands of years ago, there lived a great god in the jungles of India. He was an ascetic and a yogi who resided in a distant hermitage, sitting in yogic postures for endless hours. His consciousness, removed from this world, led him to have no interest in human affairs, for he had transcended all passions and worldliness and dwelled in the unending meditation in the divine, while contemplating the reality of his true nature, that which is never born and never dies, that awareness, right? Sometimes this renunciate sat in meditation. He would get an erection and would feel the throbbing power of his penis, the vajra or lingam, yet he was not concerned. As his conscious expanded and traveled to merge with the vastness of the whole universe, he simply observed the workings of his human form. His precious lingam arose to meditate with him as the ultimate manifestation of virility. Meanwhile, the great goddess Devi, mother of creation, decided the time has come to bring the power of this great decided the time had come to bring the powers of this great Godsmack back from the vast expanses of the universe to Earth to test his strength and to reveal to him advanced teachings he could never have imagined. It was time for Shiva to transcend his own detachment and bring his spirit back into his body, to be immersed in the world through his physical form and senses, to draw his spirit more deeply into the here and now. One day, as he sat wandering through a village, Shiva saw Sati, and his heart was touched beyond control. All this yogic power were of no avail. In one sweeping moment, his heart became the ruler of his soul, not to mention the ruler of his lingam. Shiva's consciousness merged with his heart, and his body suddenly longed for human contact and presence. This was exactly what the great goddess Devi had intended. Eventually, Sati and Shiva fell in love and married. They lived in a blissful union for many years in a hermitage on the sacred Mount Kailash. Kailash. Countless adventures followed. At last, Sati died. Shiva was inconsolable. He wandered the land mad with sorrow, for he had loved Sati as he had loved himself, as an inseparable aspect of his own divine nature. But he needed this very human sorrow, for through it he'd taste the humble descent of the lover into the dark night of the soul. He knew that love and union could no longer be separate from meditation and contemplation. So what they're saying is like man ain't even in their body. Man, women, they are the body. Mother Earth, it is the earth, it is the soil. But men, they're not in their body. They come into their body. And women help us to come into our body in so many ways, because you all are like our guides to see, am I being sensitive enough to allow myself to soften and let things in, to see things differently. So that's where the women come in. That's where the feminine energy is. This is new. This is different. I'm going to open you up to different things. The masculine energy, he was on his mission. He meditation, he elevation. He's like, I ain't worried about that shit. What y'all talking about, yo? Oh, okay. Nah, that one. I'm rocking with her. She kind of cool and whatnot. And then they start vibing, and that's be working out. Okay. The other gods, seeing his misery, decided to help. Sati was reborn, reincarnated into the being of an even more exquisite young woman, Parvati, later known and honored throughout India as Shakti. As soon as they met, they were reunited as husband and wife. Shakti was a great yogini devoted to Shiva, yet matching his powers in her own feminine way. She was the embodiment of pure energy, the mother of the matrix and of all manifestation. The source of her great power resided in her vagina, her yoni, her sacred garden. Shakti represents the power of the waves of the universe that manifests in all forms. Until Shiva and Shakti met, their respective qualities had remained barren, devoid of dynamic creativity. Each was waiting for the missing energy that would awaken or enlighten completion and allow them both to realize their ultimate mission, to become the creators and fathers and mothers of the world. I look at this as the missing energy, just like I mentioned before, that creative, free-flowing feminine energy. It needs the structure, it needs the discipline of that masculine energy, it needs the guidance. And retrospectively, the masculine energy needs that free-flowing so it can get better understanding of its perspective, of why it's going where it's going, or if it should reroute and go a different way. You see where I'm going there? As they perfected their yogic practices, Shakti accepted Shiva as her guru, her teacher, and taught her the ways of the transcendence to guide her into the ultimate liberation. Shiva accepted Shakti as his guru, and she initiated him into the ultimate liberation through the fusion of the transcendental or pure consciousness and spirit. With the manifestation in and through the body and the senses, they became spiritual partners, co-creators of their ecstasy. Shakti taught Shiva to temporarily relink exorcism and to integrate the art of love and sexual union into the spiritual practice. Thus, from the path of yoga was born the path of Tantra, the yoga of love. Shiva and Shakti, in their blissful practices, discovered new ways to channel their orgasmic powers through spinning vortexes of their inner energy centers, or chakras, and developed a great path of Tantra. This science encompassed the knowledge and skills of music, astrology, massage, painting, dance, poetry, visualization, aesthetic rituals, meditation, and the teachings for the households. So it's a whole bunch of different ways, a whole bunch of different paths that you can go, but, you know, it's a little... This is the Tantra one. They got some stuff for you. Let's see. Divine hide and seek. We are all in a divine game of hide and seek. Look around. Do you see me? I see you. Dive deep into each other's eyes. Look behind the looking. What a sense of humor to come up with such a game. A playfulness abounds. Catch each other coming out from their secret hiding place. I see you. Do you see me? Prim wrote that. I feel him. It is really a whole bunch of like, that poem gives me this. When I'm walking down the street and I see someone and I'm like, what's up, king? What's up, queen? Give them like the nod, but it was good. And then they see me and do this. Do you see me? Are you consciously looking at me, or are you like, oh, snap, there's someone becoming aware that I'm aware of them. Let me turn away and shun and not be sure of myself. Or are we like, nah, what's up? I saw you seeing me see you. You see me see you see me. Alright, what's good? What you king? Alright. We just gotta grow. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Let's see. Boom. Breathing techniques for tantric practices. In the ancient text called the Vijnayan something Tantra, we'll get to that. If you're on page 241 in the book, you already know where I'm at. Translated as techniques for going beyond consciousness. Shiva, the Indian god of reborn and disillusion, describes the whole science of Tantra to Shakti, his consort. In the text, Shiva goes about describing 112 techniques to take you beyond the mind. They are written in the language of love. Okay, so there's 112 techniques he's talking about, right? So you know the Osho book that we read and start next week is the Book of Secrets, which is 112 meditations, right? Do you see how these things come together like butt cheeks? Come on, stay on page. We get into growth. All right. They are written in the language of love. Shakti is asking Shiva while they are in a deep embrace about particular aspects of life, and he answers indirectly. For instance, she asks, "Who am I?" He will not say directly. He will give a technique. He says, "Do this technique, and you will know." For Tantra, doing is knowing. How can doubts be cleared by giving only verbal answers? Mind itself is the doubt. Unless the mind dissolves, doubts cannot be cleared. If you have a mind, it will project and cloud your awareness of the world. An answer may satisfy your mind, but then it only remains a philosophy. You will not change, you will not been touched deeply. This is what I love about Tantra and yoga, as their practices to transform, not just simply philosophies. They go fully into with both feet, and the breath is intimately linked with the mind, as it serves as the bridge between the mind and the body. Breath is always here and now. So Tantra, as in yoga, uses a tool to go beyond the mind. There is a distinction in watching the breath in Tantra and controlling the breath in yoga. You control the breath in yoga with ujjayi breathing or sitting and regulating the breath in pranayama. In Tantra, you're simply watching the breath, not controlling it, and that is a powerful technique. You're experiencing a kind of portal of presence. The space you enter through your breath is via a doorway into the unknown or unknowable. He says, simply watching the breath is a powerful technique, and that's one of the techniques we were doing on Sunday, the Self-Care Sunday with the Holiday Blues with Tumblr. We'll be doing more of these things, especially incorporating them into Thursday's Midday meditation, and help to build up these habits, these routines, these practices to better ourselves. This reminds me of the animated Disney movie Alice in Wonderland. In the movie, Alice was hanging out in nature, watching butterflies, feeling very connected with everything around her, being this beautiful, innocent young girl. Suddenly, she notices a rabbit running by, singing frantically, looking at his watch. And he says out loud, I'm late for a very important date. She follows this rabbit as he jumps into the hole. She jumps down the hole with him and begins a free fall through space. She floats to the bottom of her dress and becomes a parachute, and then she sees a doorway. She peeks into the keyhole but can't really see very well because it's nearly closed. She sees the rabbit already on the other side, running in the distance. All of a sudden, the keyhole starts talking to her and tells her a solution. As it tells her she can drink a nearby potion, which will make her small so she can get through. After drinking the potion, she goes through the keyhole to a portal into Wonderland. As she wanders through this land of magical, wonderful, and mysterious things happen to her along her journey. It's a beautiful children's story, and they do a bunch of shrooms and a whole bunch of other drugs. But it's a beautiful children's story now. Don't say it's not. And let's see, where is it? Yet powerfully illustrating its childlike poetic way. Walt Disney was another modern mystic, and I'm sure he must have played with exploring consciousness one way or another, drugs, and made when making some of his movies, either with psychedelics, meditation, or both. Probably both. Both is great. We are living in our own wonder-filled land if we drop into any of these 112 tantric techniques. I will mention only a few more. If you want to experiment with them, I recommend Osho's Book of Secrets, which, by the way, is the author's favorite book. I mean, that joint is fire. I ain't gonna hold you. That's why we're reading it next. So, come on now, get it? So the breath, as in yoga, is our vehicle for riding beyond the confines of the mind. It's our first technique in Tantra to explore. Hopefully you've already connected to this through your yoga practice. You start with the yoga practice, it's so much easier to take those small steps to elevate you through like physical application. Breath work that we've been working on Thursday, I highly encourage you to tap in. We're going to just keep on doing, keep expanding, and keep growing with it. And then we'll be able to see how those little conscious sparks and those mind spaces that we build up on Thursday can seep into your day-to-day. It's magical. That's the whole point. If you aren't in touch with yourself, how can you connect with another human being? How can you connect with the world around you? You have to connect with yourself first, so then you can have an interaction with the world and other people. Our goal, if there is one, is to be interdependent, not independent or dependent on anyone or anything. The alchemical transformation requires harmony of self first. Otherwise, the fire of passion can burn you, not transform. Yeah, that's like getting injured in a practice. Well, I'm just going to keep trying. Well, I'm going to give it another shot instead of just stopping, taking a moment, and like not reassessing it, mentally going over it before you react, before you just try to jam yourself into a pose, potentially hurting your knee, your back. So many options. As in yoga asana, preliminary steps must be taken to handle the voltage that is running through your circuits. This is the importance of having a solid asana practice. Yeah, I strongly recommend. I strongly feel him on this. It is. There are electric voltages that our body sends through us, and a simple way, you can get overdosed with that electricity. So think about like if you've come to my class, or if you almost like, let's say you almost like passed out before in a class or doing something flowing to your head, that would be an electrical current. We have our nervous system is electrically charged, so from the tip of the tailbone, the coccyx, all the way to the third eye, those are like a circuit. That's a circuit, one complete circuit. And that the blood flowing there also brings electrical circuits. The blood rush can be too much. Our conscious can be like, oh, and we pass out. However, if you're used to that, if you've built up that stamina, then maybe you don't pass out. What we've been doing in my class, some breathing tech. Some classes, is not every class, especially the privates. We got a nice little moment where it's like, whoa, and you feel like you're in space. I highly encourage you to come to my class on Saturday or Sunday. They be rocking. You'll be like, yo, I feel high as hell. Yeah, that's what it's like to have your body open. Don't worry, come back tomorrow. If you here Saturday, that means you come back Sunday. Sunday, come back on Tuesday. We're gonna get our Ashtanga in. All right, I digress. Okay. Anapanasati technique. This breathing technique is watching the breath coming in and going out. Apanasati, of course, there is much more to it than that. It is the incessant mind that's keeping you busy. It's the incessant mind keeping you busy as you're following the breath. There's a stream of thought coming and going like a breath, and the technique is simply to watch it. Relaxed, no judgment, just watching, witnessing. This is the main form of mind purification in asana practice as well. You will recall me saying that the Ashtanga asana practice is a moving meditation. That's how it got me hooked. I was able to flow, and then as I was flowing and going through these sequences, my body's opening up. I'm processing these thoughts, these sifts, sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, and I'm able to get a better perspective, a better view of what the hell is going on in my life, and I can piece it together, especially in a state where I'm making clear decisions, because that tapas is burning, and then from there, with a little bit of fire under you, you ain't gonna make a decision you really don't want to deal with. You're like, nah, I don't want to do that. Stop. The only distinction between this and Apanasati and Ashtanga, you are regulating the breath and watching it. Apanasati, you are only observing it naturally, coming in and out without interfering. That's the breath work we were working on Sunday. Feel free to go back and check it. I think it's the last post, one of the last two posts. Cool, quick, 3-minute breath work practice. Get your day going. Energize your body, energize your mind, energize your spirit. This technique is said to be the main method of Buddha, which eventually led him to enlightenment. It is a popular method of meditation called Vipassana. It's a formal training conducted all over the world. It's set up as a 10-day sitting, continually watching the breath throughout the day. You sit for an hour to get up, walk around for a bit, sit for an hour. The day begins at 4 a.m., but the wake-up bell continues until 9 p.m. There are about 10 hours of meditation throughout the day, enter with regular breaks and rest periods. Every evening at 7 p.m. there's a videotaped lecture by the teacher known as the founder and the reviver of this method, which provides the context for the meditations to understand their experience. Since I've never done the full 10 days, I can't really comment on it. I can only repeat what I've heard and known about the meditation. It appears to be a very powerful technique of complete immersion. If this is what you need, then by all means, do it. I feel the one element missing here is how to make this work in real life. Sometimes complete isolation can be valuable for deep introspection, but I've heard most people say that the effect of the 10 days slowly wears off since you aren't doing this in real life. Most important is daily consistent practice, at least 1 hour per day. So that goes into the meditation practice, and I get that. Like 10 days of no talking, you just watching the breath, nobody else, other people there, they're not talking. You get so in tune with body language because more than 90%, over like 90% of human interaction is nonverbal. Right? So you get real in tune with body language. And then we'll get back to that. We'll get back to incorporating your practice in the day. Bye. We must be careful of emitting various sages or saints and taking on practices which serve them at a particular time in their life. Buddha tortured himself for many years thinking this was the way to enlightenment. Notice I say thinking this was the way, since he realized afterwards it was unnecessary to be so extreme. His greatest realization out of it was that the surrendering and letting go in the end. That was the age of 35 after sitting under the Bodhi tree for 49 days and vowing to himself not to arise until he found the truth. Yeah, life ain't that serious. You ain't got to be that tight. I say tight because my baby girl, she be tight. She do this thing where she just straighten her legs out. She be like, ah! And then I'm trying to change her diaper and I can't really get in there because her legs are so tight. They be tight until they find the truth. Okay, the classic image you have of Buddha just before enlightenment is him sitting under the tree. He looks like a skeleton, severely from fasting and about to die. He was day after day watching his breath, bringing his full awareness to this, watching and waiting, not impatiently waiting, but fully there, fully awake, fully aware. Over many years, he began to clear himself of all the past conditioning of his own genetic makeup of core beliefs. He finally came to a point of relief. He was faced with the death of his body or the death of his ego. The death of his ego happened following instantaneously by his awakening. The full presence of his being dissolved when the absence of his ego happened. When the light is turned on inside, darkness automatically disappears. This kind of determination is needed sometimes to take you to the other side. Buddha was a radical. The next breathing technique is slightly different from the previous one. It's observing the gap between two breaths. You're watching your breath coming in, and then at the very top, it comes a space before you move into the exhale. You continue doing the same with the exhale, watching it go out completely, and then at the very end, there's a space before we move into the inhale. When you experience the gap, the space between the inhale and the exhale, you become timeless and mindless. Yo, facts here. The gap becomes longer as you clear the past impressions. All meditation leads you to this place of stillness. If only for a moment, this is what we crave in orgasm: timelessness and mindlessness, or space, or a glimpse of samadhi. This glimpse is similar to lightning on a new moon night. There is a flash of light in the darkness, and all the light illuminates the sky. He got some bars here from. What we saying? Oh, we good to go. Alright, he's got a third eye technique. We gonna skip over the third eye technique. How we gonna skip over that? Nah, we go with it. Alright, let's go with it. The third technique is called the meditation of the third eye. And it's known as the Shiva Netari, or the eye of Shiva. This eye opens when you close your two eyes into the world and bring your attention to the third eye. Right there, boom, in the center of the forehead. Again, this is the eye Christ called when he was talking about sharing a meditation. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. I experienced this light in the 3-hour meditation I used to do, as described briefly to you in the life story with Sharan Singh. I brought my attention to the third eye using a mantra given to him. I brought my attention there. I saw light, and it grew as I felt I was bathed in it. There was also a celestial sound called the sound current, a conch shell deep bells ringing or cymbals, a flute, the ocean, whistling of wind, the sound of Om. These sounds would intensify as the light grew brighter within me. Religions throughout the ages have used these objects to symbolize what they experience to be the inner world. These are the sort of sounds and lights that are made by the priests of various religions: church bells, conch shells, cymbals, chanting, singing, lighting candles, glee lamps, Agni, Hattori, which are ritual fires. Now we perform these mechanically, yet we are out of touch with their true meaning. That's facts. There's a lot of like traditions that we just do robotically. There's no like effort or feeling in them, from what I've seen from the people that I know who be doing them. I'm good. You gotta get a little bit more of that intention in there, a little bit more of that tapas, that spiritual fire. The sound current is called, is related to the ether element, which, remember, represents our most subtle sense, hearing. I traveled this way internally many times over the years. It was called it is what Sharan Singh called Shabud Yoga, or the yoga of light and sound. It was also known as dying while living. It was an extremely euphoric feeling. I feel like I was traveling the speed of light. It didn't happen every time I sat, only when I disappeared. When I came back hours later, I felt completely new, refreshed, and at peace within. The sound comes from beyond this world, hence the name celestial sound, or Om. It is what the Bible refers to as the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. John 1:1. Shams-e Tabriz, the guru of Rumi, the famous Sufi mystic poet from Persia, said, "We should see God in our own inner eye and hear his voice in our own inner ear. We should penetrate the dark veil within and go beyond his glory." You can do this technique by sitting in a comfortable seated position and begin to follow the breath as it comes in and goes out. Slowly, once your awareness begins to quiet, shift your energy to the third eye center. Keeping your awareness there, continuing to follow the breath, or use a mantra of your choice. You can use Om if you want. Keep your full awareness centered at the third eye and stay in this for 15 to 20 minutes if you can. You can increase the time if you've done this, the preparations I mentioned in the Ashtanga Yoga section. Otherwise, your body and mind will rebel. If mastered, it carries over into your lovemaking, allowing space for deeper aesthetic orgasms. Watch as the mind wanders. Gently bring your awareness back to the breath or mantra and be fully there, waiting in the third eye. So if you're paying attention, this is rather similar to that SIF meditation that we have. The only thing is we create a point of focus and notice the SIFs, as opposed to and notice how the SIFs pull us away and bring ourselves back to focus. Similar concept, but different points of focus from time to time. Do not imagine that you are seeing something or hearing something. Cooperate with whatsoever shows up. Wait and let whatever happens take its course. If light comes, be with it. If sound comes, as well. Listen with rapt intention, not moving at all. Let your mind jump ahead. If you let your mind jump ahead of you, you will only be in imagination. Do this technique and wait. And then they have a point on near-death experiences. I've had a couple of them. Near-death experiences, powerful impact on consciousness. Powerful. Immediate change. You know what matters to you in that moment. If you don't move different. Two things that cannot help. Two things nobody can help you with. Fear, cowardice, and laziness. Two things. That's all. Near-death experiences. Some people have described this feeling of light and sound when they have had a near-death experience and return to talk about it. They entered into a brilliant light. They're dying, they're leaving their bodies and dissolving into the light. Then they are suddenly jerked back into their bodies. When they spoke of this, they said it was the most aesthetically beautiful experience. Something pulled them back, whether it was a loved one, their family, bank account, or whatever. They were somehow given another opportunity to live life with more aliveness and awareness than ever before. The individuals I've met that have had this experience were extremely sorry for the wordplay, lit up. They were they were the most passionate people I've ever met, full of enthusiasm or life. It gives newfound respect for the phrase we throw around all the time, living like there's no tomorrow. Try this out for yourself. Imagine if you were told that you only had 1 week to live. How would you use your time? This is a very powerful exercise. I use this all the time. The only thing that truly matters is how you live your life now, from this moment moving forward. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. We almost out. What we got? We got Tantra and sacred sex. We got sexual Tantra, sexual techniques of Tantra, setting the space for sacred sex. Ba-da-da. And then we have the conclusion, and that's the whole book. What? We're almost done with the first book. Kind of excited. When the shoulder's going, it's a good time. All right. Last sections. Chapter 23, page 249. True Tantra is a spiritual path and is practiced with an air of sacredness. As with all forms of spiritual worship, there is an acknowledgement and honoring, worshiping of the divine being. However, in Tantra, this deity is reflected and honored in your partner, rather than an intellectual concept or a vague image. Therefore, Tantra is not an abstract form of spiritual practice, but a practical one, wherein the experience with the divine is brought down to the very realm of the senses. Think about that, right? We're gonna encase divinity in flesh, in sensory perceptions. Okay, there is an image of blah 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 blah. Oh, there's more. It's just that Tantra challenges lovers to see the divine presence of God in and through each other. That's the power. That's the powerful part, because then you can get beyond, oh, I feel this way right now, so I want you to do this. No, it's not about I feel this way so that. It's about the discipline to move forward, because it's creating a bigger connection to you than just a temporary feeling. You're creating like a life mission. So therefore, those temporary feelings are irrelevant towards the goal that you all are setting forward. Now, that doesn't mean that don't care about the other person's feelings, vice versa. Either way, no, it's not saying that, because if you were listening, you'd hear that I was speaking earlier on each other teaching one teaching the other on how to be a little bit more intimate with that person, how that energy works, how to work with it. Okay, and we're back. However, in Tantra, there is an image in Tantra of Shiva and Shakti sitting face to face in a cross-legged position. Shiva's lingam or penis is inside Shakti's yoni or vagina. They are connected as one being, sharing on a deep spiritual level. Obviously, not only through words. Words are, after all, only a small part of communication. The communication in this image of Shiva Shakti is the commune, the merging of the male and female energies. This is a beautiful metaphor and an actual experience that happens in tantric sex. This is why sex is such a powerful spiritual experience. When you can share at this level with your partner, in the sexual embrace, you embrace each other with electromagnetic bodies. You're giving added life force to each other. Tantra says, go into the physical energy of sex fully to see what creative energy is all about. Explore it first in yourself, as you have been in your asana practice by exploring the Mula Bandha, that's the pelvic floor, and getting in contact with that part of your body and feeling the pelvic floor, the seat of your sensual energy. Play with that energy by feeling it in your own body. You have to learn about energy in your own body before you can share it with another person. Got to see how we feel, how we're going to make the other person feel, or give us a basis to recalibrate what we think we're doing. In this text I've read and explored, there are different techniques of connecting with the energy by yourself first. This involves breathing exercises, playing with Mula Bandha, and creating an energy circuit in your spine like the Jiva Bandha energy breathing technique. Then you're able to explore the energy with someone else. sexual techniques of Tantra. I want to share with you some sexual meditative techniques of Tantra. If the energy you've been cultivating through your practice of Ashtanga Yoga, which we'll be practicing on Tuesday, bring that ass, virtually, starts with the Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor. Mula Bandha gets you in touch with with your base energy, keeping your sexual energy alive and moving it upward through the Uddiyana. Loving each other becomes a playful yet reverent experience of exploring in childlike ways. This is the essence of the sexual aspect of Tantra. All of the preliminary playing and exploring you do in your yoga practice brings you to the table of love. Then you're able to feast upon a rich abundance of energy available to you both. In that space, you can lift each other higher. Out of this exploration, you can set up a temple of love. You prepare the precious bodily temple for the supreme expression of love, of two human forms dancing and playing ecstatically for as long as you want. Therefore, you're watching, breathing, and enjoying until you're both complete. Hours or even days of lovemaking, you are charged with this energy. A mere look from the other or a simple kiss brings rushes of ecstasy through you. Foreplay, during play, after play, another pyramid. That is another pyramid. Bars. Tantra and yoga through Mula Bandha teach you how to lift your energy up and out of the genitals or out of the base chakra and move it in spreading nourishing energy throughout your entire body. As a man, you can have multiple orgasms like a woman without ejaculating. Facts. It takes cultivating this in your own body, first by having a powerful Mula and Uddiyana Bandha. It is possible to bring the energy up, otherwise it quickly exits lingam. So the concept here is this goes up through the chakras, and not just the chakras, because the men, we have a concept in ejaculation. Instead of ejaculating, it goes in and it goes up and through the 7 chakras and rests at the pineal gland. That's where the point of magnetism comes in for the man. There was one other thing I wanted to touch on in there. Oh, Mula Bandha is the root, the pelvic floor, the root lock, and the Uddiyana Bandha is the expansion of like the torso in all directions, right? So the first one is the seed, and the second one is the direction of it. The upward is that liberation force. We went through different types of energies in the book. Upward is liberation force, the pranavayu, and downward is the apanavayu, and that is the evacuatory force. So like if you're going to shit, if you're going to pee, menstruation, these are the things that correlate with it. Alright, in Tantra, sex is a sacred ritual. When the breath is regulated, softened in unison, merging together, the body absorbs each other's energy. They're different energies, and that's why we are drawn to be together. You're attracted to the opposite energy like a magnet. The lingam deep inside the yoni stimulates her Mula Bandha, since the cervix is the initiation point for women. Also, there are reflex points on the lingam which are directly synced up with the yoni. For example, there's a reflex point at the head of the lingam which corresponds to the heart. The identical point deep inside the yoni corresponds to the heart as well. All the organs of the body are represented along the lingam and lined up identically on the inside of the yoni. Instead of throwing out your energy, you nourish and heal each other. You're no longer losing energy, you're gaining it. You're building energy together, recharging each other. And that's the Tantra. That simple. Once you're in that state where you can feel that energy, you're aware of yourself, you see what you're giving your partner, you feel what your partner's giving yourself. That's it. Setting up the space for sacred sex. Entering into the world of sacred sex, it's important to set the atmosphere in a way that you would when you're entering a sacred temple. When you set the space, it's important to pay attention to the 5 senses, which are related to the 5 elements. Facts. There's always a symbiotic relationship going on when you're conscious of it. In setting the space, the 5 elements and the senses are nourished. I want to go through each sense and talk about them briefly. It's really for you to discover what resonates for you in creating your own sacred space. I'm only going to give a few ideas of what's possible. Use your imagination to creatively set a place of worship. I spoke of the eyes being the most vital sense organ, so obviously the eyes are very important for sensual experience. Burning candles is the best light to accentuate the forms of your body, adorning the body with beautiful color that resonates with you, your partner throughout the... All right, I'm gonna be real. He goes through a whole bunch here, a whole bunch of things to do, and it's not practical. It's not practical. It's not practical to do these every single time, at least in this American atmosphere. However, a way to incorporate some of these things, essential oils, mood lighting, right? You know, not just creating, oh, we have to set the time, what's he saying? Set the time with fragrance and flowers. Set the spot up. Let's simplify. Set the spot up. Make it look visually appealing, right? It doesn't have to be all this over-the-top stuff. That's what I highly recommend. Find something that works, because once you set the vibe, if it's not something you're going to be able to keep up with or set each time you do something, then it's going to become a hindrance. It's going to be a mood killer, and that will kill the Tantra and the connection far faster than anything else. Find stuff that's organic for you and then play on it. If you all normally be cuddled up, find a way to put essential oils on the part of your body, or find an essential oil that she likes. Excite the senses. Just little things like that, right? 1 second. No, the name of this book is The Only Way Out Is In by Anthony Prem Carlisi. He's got a nice little island spot on Bali. But this is the Shiva Shakti story that we were reading about, and also going a little bit deeper into Tantra, getting an understanding of that. Any questions, please feel free to drop in the chat. Let me know what's up, what's good. Oh, you didn't want to turn back on? Oh, you playing games. That jump's just gonna be off. We gonna finish on IG.